Welcome to the lesson. Take it from me, as someone who's marked countless papers over the last decade and more. Nothing will undermine a paper faster than poor referencing. The golden rule in academia is that you must properly cite and credit your source material for any claims that you make based on that material. Whether you're quoting directly, drawing on ideas, you must cite your sources properly. In academia, we have a convention for doing that. This is called citation and referencing. In this lesson, I'm going to take you through how to do this in the Microsoft Word program. Microsoft Word has installed the references feature for some years, and it's an extremely useful tool. As you'll see, over the course of your entire degree, if you do this consistently, life will get a lot easier for you as a student. A good rule of thumb that I use is, if in doubt, cite. If at any point you're in doubt about the origins of an idea, a concept, then you should cite a source for it. In this lesson, I'm going to focus on using the referencing feature in Microsoft Word. In the lesson below, I'm going to focus on using the references feature in Google Docs. The basic principles are the same, but the functionality is a little bit different between Microsoft Word and Google Docs. What I'll focus on during this lesson is how to cite and reference books, book chapters, sometimes known as book sections, journal articles, and I'll give an example as well of referencing an electronic source. I'm then going to take you through the process for creating a bibliography. And then I'll mention the accumulation of your source material in the Manage Sources file in Microsoft Word. So let's see how this works. Here we have a sample paper. All sample papers, by the way, should have a cover page, and this will include the title of the course, including the course code, the name of the professor or tutor who's teaching the course, the sample prompt, question or topic area, and your identification. Even if this is not mentioned in the syllabus, it's strongly advised that you include a cover page. So either throughout the process of creating the paper, or indeed at the end when you go back and insert your sources, this is how you enter a source and create a bibliography. So we'll start with a book. So let's get to the point where you want to insert your citation. Say, for example, you've outlined a number of key claims and ideas in your opening introductory paragraph, and now you want to create a citation for a source. First, you must place the cursor between the end of the last word and the full stop or period at the end of the sentence. So your cursor should go in here. Then you create a space between the last word and the full stop. Then you go to the References section, which is located here in the upper left corner of the Microsoft application. When you click on the references, you'll see quite a lot of functions. The one that you should focus on is here, the Citations and Bibliography. You have a number of features: insert a citation, manage sources, the style, and the bibliography. We'll deal with these in turn. So in order to insert our citation, we click on the Insert Citation. You'll see two options: Add Source and Add Placeholder. Let's add a source. Once you click on this, a box will open up like this. In the box are a number of fields. You'll see the type of source located here. There is a drop-down menu. When you click on the drop-down menu, you'll see a range of options. Book, book section, journal article, article in a periodical, which is like a magazine, a conference proceedings, report, website, document from a website, sound recordings, film, interview, patent, case, or miscellaneous. Now, depending on the type of source that you want to cite, you should click on that. Here we're going to go and cite a book. When you click on book, you'll see that very specific fields of information open up. There is also an option below for show all bibliography fields. I do recommend that you click on that. It will open up more fields, but most of these won't necessarily be relevant. But depending on the source, some might be. The main fields of information to think about, particularly in relation to a book, are the following: the author of the book, the title of the book, the year of publication, the city in which the publication house is located, and the name of the publisher. There are other fields of information as well. Usually these are not required. So let's start inputting our information. When you're inputting the name of the author or authors of the book, I strongly recommend that you simply click on the Edit button. If you try to enter the name as you see it on the book itself, for example, by just simply typing it in here, you may find later that when Microsoft Word tries to format this, it'll come out wrong. So I strongly recommend that you use the Edit function and enter the name as you're prompted here. So let's say, for example, that the name of our author is last name Smith, first name John. Once you've entered the name, click the Add button. This doesn't close the box. It in fact gives you an option to add an additional name. So let's say our book, for example, is a co-authored volume with two authors. And the second author's name is Jones. We would then add that. So now we have two names entered in this section. When we click on OK, it brings us back to the box, and the names are now entered as such. The title of the book, sticking with the previous example of the page breaker lesson, might be something like Energy Security in the 21st Century. It may have been published last year. And published by an academic publisher, a high-profile one, for example, like Routledge. So now we enter our information and we click the OK button. And as you can see, the citation has now been inserted at the end of the sentence, but before the full stop. This is a small detail, but it is important. And that is how you enter a book citation. Now later, for example, you might want to enter a specific chapter from a book as a source. Once again, place your cursor between the last word of the sentence and the full stop, as shown here. Then click the spacebar, create a space, and insert citation. Now once you've clicked the Insert Citation button, you'll notice, for example, that the previous entry has now been included in the drop-down list. But let's say this is a new source from a different book. So let's click Add New Source. Once again, the box with the fields of information pops up. Again, I recommend that you show all bibliography fields so that all of the information fields are available to you in order to enter the information. This time, we're going to choose a book section. This is where individual chapters are included, for example. And once again, we have the author, title, the book author, which might be different from the author of the chapter, if it's an edited volume, for example, the book title, the year, the page range of the chapter, because it's not the entire book, the city of publication, and the publisher. So this time, we're going to enter a name for a chapter author. We'll deal with a single author in this example. Now, the title of the chapter goes here. Once that's done, you then need to indicate which book the chapter is included in. And essentially, this is then entering the information for the book itself. So the book authors need to be included. Let's give a single edited volume, authored by one author. The book title, as distinct from the chapter title. The year that the book was published. And this is crucial, the page range in which the chapter is included. So let's say in this case that the chapter starts on page 33 and finishes in page 51. And this time the book was published by Oxford University Press, which of course is located in Oxford. And at that point, we enter the information. So now we see the citation entered here for that book chapter. It's important to note, when you bring the cursor over the citation, you'll see that it turns slightly grey. I'll come back to that later on. Our third example might be a journal article. Journal articles are slightly different to books. As I indicated in a previous lesson, in a previous section of this course, journal articles have a very specific kind of citation system. So let's take a look. Again, enter the cursor between the last word of the sentence and the full stop. Create a space and insert citation. Now you've entered two sources. But this is not the source that you're going to draw from in this case. So again, you need to add a new source. And up comes the box. Again, show all bibliography fields, and you'll definitely need that this time in order to access other fields to enter important information. On this occasion, our type of source is journal article. And you can see immediately that the fields have changed. So let's say we have an article written by one author, and the title refers in this case to the title of the article. Then we enter the name of the journal, and the year of publication. Again, pages refers to the page range. Each issue of a journal will include a number of different articles, and they'll be allocated a certain amount of space within the issue itself. So it's important that you're clear about what the page range is. Again, this particular article started on page 45 and perhaps finished on page 67. Then there are two more key pieces of information that you need when citing a journal article. The volume, which refers to the collection of issues in any given year, and the issue, which is included within that volume. Some journals have been running for many decades. Other journals have only started in the last few years. The volume number corresponds to the number of years that the journal has been issued. And an issue may range from 2 issues a year to perhaps 6 or even more. The standard is 4 issues per volume. So in this case, let's say our journal is quite old, and this is volume 20. So the journal has been published for 20 years. And in this case, this article is included in the 3rd issue of that volume. More recently, journals have begun codifying some of their issues as DOIs, and you'll see that number in the citation reference. It's not necessary to enter it, but it might be advisable to do so. Now we've entered our information, let's review. We have our author, we have the title of the journal article that they've published, which is their specific research paper. We have the journal name, we have the year of publication, we have the page range of the journal article itself contained within the issue, and then we have the journal volume, which corresponds to the collection of issues within a given year, and the issue, ranging between 2, 6, or even more, depending on the journal. And now we enter our information. And as you can see, the citation has now been included at the end of the text. We have one final example. Increasingly, in the internet age, the use of internet sources or electronic sources has become commonplace. So let's enter an electronic source. Again, insert your cursor between the last word and the full stop or period. Create a space and enter a new source. This time, we're going to enter a website. Show all bibliography fields. Let's say, for example, that you're including a website that is essentially an organizational website. So it's a website that's produced by an organization. So there is not necessarily a single author for this particular website. In that case, we would use what's called a corporate author. And once you do that, you simply enter the name of the corporate author. You enter the name of the web page. It's possible that a year is given. Sometimes, right at the bottom of the website, a copyright indicator will be included. And this will indicate, for example, that this particular web page or website was produced in a given year. But very often, a year is not actually included. In a case like that, you would simply insert the words ND, which indicate that there is no date. If there is a date given, then you give it. But if there isn't a date given, you simply enter ND. Other information then includes the URL specifically. Another crucial piece of information is when you actually access this website. It can happen that websites move, that websites are discontinued, or updated. So it's important for anyone looking at your text to know when you actually access the website so that they can verify whether or not it still exists or whether they need to search for a new version of it. For that, you simply enter the date. If you access the website when you're writing your paper, you enter the year, the month, and the date. Once that's done, you click OK. And once again, the citation is entered at the end of your text. So now we've entered 4 sources: a book chapter, a journal article, and an electronic source. Let's now create a bibliography at the very end of your text to impress your tutor. It's critically important that you ensure that your cursor is placed right at the end of the document. In fact, I would even give some additional space, as you may need to make a page break to push it further down into its own page. That'll certainly look a lot neater. So once you've placed your cursor in the right place, you then go back up to your Citations or Bibliography field and you click on Bibliography. You'll get a drop-down menu, and you can choose from this how you would like this bibliography to be organized. The normal one is Bibliography or References. It doesn't make much difference. Let's go with Bibliography. Once I click this, you'll see that the bibliography is automatically created. And as I say, I recommend inserting a page break to make sure that the bibliography has its own page as a beginning. Now, what's important to note at this point is that you'll notice that the bibliography is always organized alphabetically. This saves you a great deal of time. In addition, there are variations on what format or convention you're using for your bibliography. Increasingly, in the social and human sciences, for example, APA, from the American Psychological Association, is being used more regularly. But it can also be the Harvard style, it can also be Chicago, or MLA. And one of the advantages of using the Microsoft system is that if you're given specific instructions to use APA in one paper, but you're asked to use Harvard in another, you can simply change. And when you do that, the system changes for you. Each of these styles have their own specific conventions. In the APA, for example, the date is included in brackets. But in Harvard, the dates are not. In MLA, for example, the first name of the author is spelled out fully. In APA, it's an initial. So this is the advantage of the Microsoft system. So let's say, for example, that you want to quote directly from your text. In this case, you might want to quote directly from the journal article written by Morrison. So you've inserted a quote, and you've taken verbatim the words that the author has used and included them in your own term paper. It is critically important that you insert a page number at the end of your citation to clarify where you got that quote from. With Microsoft Word's referencing system, This is very easy. And here's where the grey highlight comes in. Once you click on that, you'll notice a down arrow here. If you click on the down arrow, you'll get a number of options. One of these is Edit Citation. Once you click on that, a small box with a field will open up. And here you add pages. So if you quoted from page 35 of Morrison's article, you simply enter 35. Then you click OK. And as you can see, the citation is now automatically included with an abbreviation for page as per the APA system. Let's do that again, this time with Peterson's book chapter. So we have a text, or perhaps we have a summary of an overall argument within a particular portion of text that might run across several pages. So for example, we will edit the citation, and in this case, we'll perhaps include pages 45 to 47. Click OK. And now you have indicated clearly where the overall summary of this argument might be found in Peterson's work. A final feature that's worth mentioning. As you accumulate different sources over the course of your time at university, as long as you're using the same program, you'll notice that all of these are going to be included in a larger collection of works. Each time you enter a source, you're creating a master list. So the next time you write a paper on your subject, you might find that it's just as easy to click on the source, and you'll see that it's brought up here for you so that you can be absolutely clear what it is, and then you simply copy it across to the current list used in your term paper. The small tick boxes here indicate that this source has been both cited and included in the references. So the new source, as you can see here, this one for Channel 4 interview, that source has not yet been cited or included, but it is now on your list. And let's see what that looks like in practice. So without having to type anything in, because you've created this earlier and it's on your master list, the next time you try to enter a citation, and you insert citation, the source will come up here for you. Once you click on it, it automatically enters. And then once you go to the bibliography, you simply update, and the new source is included. The Microsoft referencing feature is incredibly valuable, and while initially there's some work to do in terms of entering the information, once it's done, you can then easily access that information for future papers, saving you time, making your paper look good for the tutor, and above all, staying on the right side of academic conventions around referencing and citation.